retractable leads. Okay, did a little bit the other day about long lines and what a menace they are, and potentially what a pain in the backside they are to work with and manage. However, if used correctly, they are still a good tool to have in your box. And just like every tool, retractable leads are one of those that, if used incorrectly or in the not the most effective way, then yes, it can be a hindrance. You can injure a dog, you can put a dog under stress, you can put a dog under pressure, you can potentially injure a dog for it to bolt out to the end of the line and wallop, back it goes. Yes, you are going to cause injury, and yes, there is going to be a risk of causing injury to your dog if you do not use it effectively and correctly. Just like every tool, not only in dog training, but every tool in any industry, if you use it incorrectly or unsafely or not responsibly, there is going to be a risk there. Okay. However, I like to use these, one, because they're a lot more easy to use, they're a lot more practical. You're not dealing with things getting tied up, you're not dealing with mud, wet, whatever, and all the issues that you would potentially have with a long line. You're not having to manage lengths of line getting tangled up and knotted and dirty and all that kind of stuff. So there are a couple of key things of how I do use this in a more effective way. One of them is I never ever walk a dog from A to B with it extended. Okay, we've just spent a long time, or you have just spent a long time teaching your dog to walk to heel lovely beside you. Okay, the second that we start walking to the park excuse me, with the dog out in front of us because we think the dog needs space, okay, we are very quickly going to revert back to that bad habit of the dog pulling us, because the dog becomes accustomed and becomes used to being in front because subconsciously we've let it, and all of that amazing hill work that you've spent weeks and weeks doing just goes completely out the window. All right, and you're back to square one. So if you're walking from A to B, never ever have it loose, or give the dog the option of taking this line out of the casing. When you get to the park, you would go Fido sit, you would then unlock it or push the button, and then you go, go on mate, away you go. Okay, that then leads us on to the next thing, of which I never ever do. I never allow a dog to get to the end of the line. Okay, look on the side, is it 2 meters, is it 3 meters, is it 5, 10, 8, whatever it is. For a number of different reasons. One, if that dog bolts out because you said, go on mate, away you go, yes, you are going to injure the dog, because it's going to get to the end of the line, it's going to check itself, and potentially you are risking a throat or neck or head injury with that dog checking itself at such a fast pace of pressure. Yes, you are going to hurt the dog. We don't do that. So never allow a dog to get to the end of the line. So in your mind's eye, you know how long your line is, okay? I talk a lot about bubbles and working in bubbles and keeping the dog enthusiastic and stimulated and happy in and around us. Now, what I do is, in my mind's eye, I know the end of this line. So before the dog gets there, I will recall the dog back. I will call the dog back to me for some fuss or a tennis ball or a bit of kibble, or give it a job to do, all right? So I'm working that dog, whatever breed it is, whatever I'm doing with that dog, in the distance before it gets to the end of the length of the line that you're using. Okay, another reason why we never let a dog get to the end of the line is because when this does come off, the dog will go, oh, no, hang on a minute, there's no sense. Whoa, I'm not on a lead. See ya. Okay, so we're never, ever allowing the dog to get to the end of the line for those two very important reasons. One, safety. You don't want to check it, you don't want to hurt it, you don't want it to jar itself when it gets to the end. But two, in a training situation, when it realizes that it's not going to get to the end and it's not going to get checked, it's going to realize it's not on a lead or a line or under any element of control, and go, oh, see ya, I'm off. Okay, so what I do is I never ever lock it off. Okay, the dog can have all of this line, front, back, side, whatever. However, if I am going to communicate with that dog, and in this case I'll go Len or Leonard, come, if he was to ignore me, I would push that button, I would check him, and then I would release that button. Okay, so I'm never actually locking it off. So very similar to a box standard long line, where if a dog was to ignore you, you would go, oi, pap, yep, sorry, John, I'm coming back in now. It's exactly the same method. You would give the dog the line, not to the end, remember, within the space of the length of the lead or the line that you're holding in your hand. You would communicate with the dog. If the dog ignored you, you would simply push the button, check the dog, release the button, and then the dog is coming back to you as this is self-winding back into its casing. So like every single tool, you can abuse it. You can use it incorrectly. If you do use it incorrectly, there is an element of risk in terms of harming your dog or not really hoisting in the training skill of what you actually want the dog to learn. But it's a very, very effective tool because it's cleaner, it's more easier to manage. But you've got to use it effectively in those ways which I've just described and explained on how I use it, for it to have some positive effect on your training.